From a $100 million theme park to a yak farm, we're ranking every YouTuber business. Starting with Lunchly by MrBeast, KSI, and Logan Paul. Despite the rough product launch, I actually think starting a Lunchables competitor was a smart idea given their target demographics, but a lot of people are being thrown off by the cases of mold in them. F tier. Marcus Brownlee is a YouTuber with respected reviews of any products related to tech. He's not afraid to be honest and point out flaws with the goal of pushing the industry towards creating better products. Then he launched his own product, Panels, an app that lets you download high quality wallpapers for $12 a month. In the current year, it's also faced backlash over privacy concerns. F tier. The Nelk Boys built their channel on college party culture, so it seemed like a perfect fit when they launched their own beer, Happy Dad. Except it wasn't beer.
Introducing Happy Dad hard seltzer. No more fucking skinny can bullshit, boys.
They saw seltzers were becoming more popular but mainly marketed to a female audience, so they leveraged their existing fan base to convert beer drinkers. And it definitely worked. Happy Dad became the most followed hard seltzer on Instagram within its first year and secured partnerships with brands like Death Row Records and This NFT. Even with alcohol being a very complex product to sell, they did over $200 million in sales. Unrivaled market position, that's an S tier. I don't want to talk about too many merch brands since like every big YouTuber can launch and do well, but I have to make an exception for iShowSpeed. As one of the most popular influencers, Speed's reach is next level. He's done streaming tours in different countries across the world, and his marketing team capitalized on this hard. He definitely learned his lesson from the whole crypto thing and kept it simple. Every time he landed in a new country, he dropped a limited edition t-shirt. And tying a product to these streams created a ton of scarcity, which is a proven driver of sales. This wasn't the most optimized business, but it still would have made an insane amount of money with minimal effort, so we'll give a B tier. Danny Duncan might have the most chaotic and high intensity content on the platform, so what better product than a shot of energy? The branding for Matador Energy was inspired by Danny literally running for his life from Spanish fighting bulls. But marketing aside, his team identified the importance of making an actual good product. It was in development for over 3 years and was positioned as a cleaner and better energy solution. Matador also leveraged Danny's fan base to start with massive retail partnerships. They launched in over 600 Spencers and 2 months later expanded into over 7,000 Circle Ks. Just insane market entry, A tier. From just a small startup to a multi-million-dollar enterprise, Jeffree Star Cosmetics became one of the most successful businesses of the early YouTube era. But we don't need to talk about that because he has a yak farm business. At Star Yak Ranch, Jeffree has these cool little guys as pets, and with that alone, I'm tempted to put this into S tier. Wait, he turns some of them into... Now, for some reason, YouTubers love running coffee businesses. There's Chamberlain Coffee, Top in the Morning Coffee, Awesome Coffee Club, Bankroll Coffee. Okay, so that one didn't go so well, but finance YouTuber Graham Stephan shared some insight as to why he had to shut down and why it should have happened sooner. While it started off well, coffee and shipping prices just went up way faster and higher than expected. Then add in more than double the ad rates and you have yourself a business getting killed by its overhead. Even Emma Chamberlain, with tens of millions of followers, has said how her coffee company has been actively losing money despite being in stores with consistent demand. It's just tough for these YouTubers to scale aside from their personal brands, and at that point it just makes more sense to sell direct to consumer. But since it was kind of out of their control, I'm putting the coffee brands in C. From vodka to a kid's cereal, the Sidemen have had their fair share of business ventures. But one of their most successful has been their food brand Sides. They started with just ghost kitchens in London to leverage their UK audience. People traveled from all parts to try it, but they actually had too much demand. Since they're going through delivery platforms, there were major driver shortages, leaving customers to wait hours for their orders. Not to mention, they just didn't have a lot of control over the quality. This led them to pivot to their first brick and mortar location. They scaled down their ghost kitchens and cut any that weren't up to par with their new set of standards. 6 months later, Sides did over £1 million in weekly revenue, and they opened 5 more locations in the UK with plans to do more. It obviously wasn't a perfect launch, and they are still operating some ghost kitchens, but you can't deny the numbers. A tier. Taking a page from Disney's playbook, Dude Perfect announced their plans to launch a massive $100 million interactive theme park in HQ. 10 acres, a 330-foot trick shot tower, museum, mini golf course, restaurants. Dude Perfect World will provide an interactive experience inspired by their videos. It's kind of tough to rank since they're just so early in, but here's what we know about theme parks. Industry leaders are doing multi-billions in both revenue and operating income. The market has very solid growth projections, and even through rough times like COVID, this has proven to be a resilient business model. With the fact they've already raised over $100 million in investments, I'm giving it A tier. David's Disposable is another YouTuber business by David Dobrik. It's an app that lets you take and share photos with an old school disposable camera feel. It's definitely more clever than Marcus's wallpaper app, but it does kind of feel like a one-off gimmicky product. But the real issue had to do with David himself. They launched right around the same time he was under fire for serious controversy and didn't have the greatest reputation. So David ended up stepping down from CEO of the company, and the app was rebranded to Dispo to help stop some of the damage by association. D tier. Teddy Fresh is a clothing brand launched by Gila from H3H3 Productions. Even in a saturated streetwear market, they were able to carve out a niche and became very well known for this signature color blocking style with pastel colors. But they did what any YouTuber business wants to do and gained recognition as a brand that people know even if you don't know their channel. Big celebrities were wearing it, and they launched major collaborations with brands like Care Bears and SpongeBob. Teddy Fresh wasn't without its issues though. They faced controversy around a negative work environment and accusations of design theft. They're still kind of crushing it though. A tier. Save the Kids was an infamous crypto project that several YouTubers were involved in. It was marketed as a charity coin, donating a portion of its proceeds to help children in need. Now it's important to note that crypto projects were riddled with scams at this time, but Save the Kids prepared for this. They advertised a 24-hour lock period that prevented holders from selling off large amounts quickly. While it wasn't created by YouTubers, it was heavily promoted by some members of FaZe Clan, Ricegum, and Summer Rae, who collectively had over 50 million followers. This of course inflated the price of the coin, but despite what was advertised, the project was launched, and right after, the coins were being dumped in huge amounts, leaving buyers with millions of tokens worth nothing. It turned out that the code had been changed right before the launch, causing this massive scam. The YouTubers involved claimed to not know anything about it, and I'm sure some were more guilty than others, but just given the nature of it being a charity coin, this was just another level of scummery from whoever was behind it. And for that, I mean, it's worse than F tier.
One more question. Is this sponsored by Save the Kids or not?
Ninja Milk is yet another energy drink business launched by OG YouTuber Ryan Higa. Originally, it was just a made-up thing from his comedy skits back in 2009, but the joke got so popular that he decided to launch it as a real product. And unlike traditional energy drinks, this one fuses carbonated water, caffeine, and real milk. After beating each other up twice, Logan Paul and KSI went from rivals to business partners. They announced the launch of Prime Hydration. Thanks to their huge followings, it exploded in popularity, becoming the fastest growing hydration beverage company in history. In its first year alone, Prime did 250 million in sales, and a year later they hit 1.2 billion. Even aside from revenue, they've partnered with some of the biggest sports teams and athletes in the world and did the largest sponsorship deal in WWE's history. And with a conservative estimate, Prime is sitting on a $3.1 billion valuation. Easily one of the most successful YouTuber businesses of all time. Logan, of course, isn't the only Paul to launch a YouTuber business. Say what you want about Jake Paul, but he is a master of marketing. He built his whole personal brand off being the villain of social media and transitioned that into his professional boxing career. And with that, Jake founded his own boxing promotion that he would be the face of. Notably, they partnered with Netflix and co-produced the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight, breaking records with over 65 million concurrent streams. I will say, since the promotion is very closely tied to the success of Jake Paul, they'll need to avoid over-relying on him and build a strong roster to scale long-term. B tier. In the spirit of Christmas, one of the earlier YouTubers, Zoella, launched a 12-day advent calendar. But to say this was an underwhelming product would be an understatement. There's nothing like spreading Christmas cheer with items like a pen and some stickers with a price tag of £50. And with the product being marketed primarily to children, as you can imagine, this created accusations of Zoella exploiting her young audience. The estimated value of all the items was around £15, and after the backlash, retailers literally cut the price in half. Obviously in business, you want to operate at high profit margins, but not really at the expense of making your brand look bad. F tier. Even though Eric blew up with his creative video ideas, he founded a surprisingly simple business called Creator Now. All the platform did was help aspiring content creators grow with things like mentorships and coaching. But businesses that sell digital products or services are a cheat code. They usually have low overhead, higher profit margins, and way less logistic issues to deal with. Even while keeping it simple, they grew to an estimated $2 million valuation and ended up being acquired by a bigger YouTube growth company, vidIQ. This was a win-win for Eric as it was a good exit and allowed him to fully shift his focus back to his videos. Without knowing all the details though, we'll give it B tier. Productivity YouTuber Ali Abdaal launched a keyboard business called Light Mode, but after working on it for over a year, a big reviewer kinda tore it apart.
The plastic is very cheap and reminds me of a budget keyboard. Okay, well that's fine. This thing is probably really affordable and really cheap and, wait. You're kidding, right?
But instead of getting defensive, Ali acknowledged the areas of improvement and even had a one-on-one call with him to get advice going forward. This is honestly a good takeaway, as business is all about trying things out, getting experience, and continuously improving. I'm doing Ali a bit dirty here, as he does have other businesses that are doing much better, but light mode gets D tier. Now, I love when YouTubers make products that perfectly fit their audience, like ex-NASA engineer Mark Rober, who's known for his fun but also educational videos. He runs a company called Crunch Labs that sells these kits of toys and robots that kids can build at home. But they're not just selling them as one-time products. They operate on a subscription model, meaning customers can be paying every single month for new boxes. It's very strong for a business to have recurring revenue like this, and Crunch Labs hit 100,000 paid subscribers in just 6 months. But it's honestly just nice to see that Mark isn't just shelling out another cheap toy product, but rather making a business with real impact and inspiring kids. A tier. Mr. Beast has a mountain of ventures at this point, and similar to Sides, his first real business, Beast Burger, launched as a ghost kitchen brand. He partnered with the company VDC that would handle all the logistics, but Mr. Beast would end up regretting this. As VDC focused more on the quantity of food rather than the quality, they ran into serious problems with the product. This was ultimately just hurting Mr. Beast's brand, and even though he said how he wants to shut it down, he signed a bad deal and the VDC company will not let him. And as a result, they're still currently in a legal battle, whereas Mr. Beast's new brand Feastables has been the complete opposite. In its first few months, Feastables did 10 million in sales and has only grown from there. They've worked with names like Gordon Ramsay and partnered with the Charlotte Hornets. But aside from numbers, they're tackling some serious issues in the cocoa industry, like making sure ingredients are ethically sourced and fighting against rising child labor issues. Feastables gets an easy S tier, and it's an unfortunate situation for Beast Burger, but I'm still giving them B.
Drink Nutcase is back in stock.
Ninja's business Nutcase definitely has some interesting branding around it. So he co-founded this dairy-free, gluten-free chocolate cashew milk in a can. Seems like a good option for people who can't do dairy, but you're definitely paying a premium. But the thing is, the product was released years after his peak of being the most influential person in gaming. During the whole Fortnite era, Ninja went pretty mainstream, playing with celebrities, hitting the subscriber record on Twitch at the time, and even going on talk shows. Like, I'm someone who knows about the streaming world, and even I didn't know he had this business, which isn't a great sign. But just considering the opportunity he had to innovate with the business during his peak, this one just feels like a bit of a miss. C tier. When First We Feast launched their show Hot Ones, they revolutionized food entertainment. If you somehow haven't seen it, it's where celebrities sit down for an interview while eating wings that get progressively spicier. But the concept of the show really carried it, and with all the big names and viral moments, it just kept growing. This turned into tangible products like a hot sauce line with unique flavors that became very well known, giving them an edge. Now with a strong catalog of products built up and their audience, BuzzFeed ended up selling First We Feast and Hot Ones to a group of investors, including the show's host, for $82.5 million. Mr. Beast even mentioned that he would have been interested in buying it himself if they reached out to him. But this just shows how far a good idea can go. A tier. Those are my rankings. Try not to take all of them too seriously. And if you want to see businesses that statistically never fail, be sure to check out this video here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.